Take a look at the draft. Fusion maybe on the left, CakeKalok maybe on the right. It looks like the pictures may be swapped. One of the things are swapped, but we can see immediately a Blaziken ban.
Yeah, Blaziken has been hot property here today, getting the bans, but also picking on up, and it's such a great secure. Speaking of secure, Dragonite. I feel like this pick has been a little bit slept on today, but we have seen it come into popularity, so that is going to receive a ban of itself.
I think that Dragonite has really shown off a lot this tournament, especially with a lot of the Asian teams. We have seen, actually, you know what, another Pokemon that I'm surprised to see banned, the Blastoise, has been used so well by so many of the Asian teams. Japan, APAC, they've really shown us that this Pokemon, while it did seem to fall out of the meta, is still extremely strong. Dragonite has secured so many Rayquazas this weekend.
Yeah, speaking of the other surfing type Pokemon here, Slowbro out of the picture, Urshifu also rising in the ranks. We've seen both that Wicked Blow and Surging Strike Spare, so it'll be really interesting to see which one CakeKalok chooses here. But, oh, Mamo, I can hear Zoinks from here cheering once again.
Mamo and the Ceruledge. Ceruledge has been kind of passed up by a lot of these teams a lot more recently, which is really interesting. But we have seen that Ceruledge can chase down. It can be so hard to KO. It is truly still a high-tier Pokemon. But there's just so many good Pokemon that it's hard to exactly lock down what you want. Are we going to see the Clefable? This has been a support that has been passed up so often, and we're not going to see it. So forget whatever I was just about to say. Eldegoss, we've seen it throughout the day. They've now got potentially, I mean, they're showing this off, right? They're showing that the Umbreon will be the main defender of their team.
Yeah, both rocking the experience shares there, but because Eldegoss has been picked up, it looks like Kea is going to opt for the eggs, the Blissey, and ooh, do we get to see a Chandelure pick here? Look, as if one Fire Ghost type Pokemon wasn't enough, we get another Fire Ghost type.
I would have to expect,
better.
right. But no, I have to expect that after this, we are going to see maybe the Scyther. They do tend to choose those two together as their final picks quite a bit. On the other side, though, the Gardevoir and the Gyarados, both the G names, and honestly, they're a great combination together. And we are going to see the Scyther. This has been the signature comp, I think, of Fusion. And it's so hard to not give it to them, because you're not going to ban Scyther, you're not going to ban Chandelure, really, and nobody's really picking them either.
I mean, some of the teams actually did
Some
ban
have,
it,
yes.
but I guess CakeKalok thinking they can handle the pressure, the slice and dice from Anemo here. I mean, Gardevoir, they're going to have to be real well protected in that back line, not to get caught out.
There is a good amount of defense, and again, you mentioned earlier that we're not sure exactly which kind of Urshifu we're going to see. I'm curious which kind of Urshifu it's going to be as well. Whether it's going to be a little bit more to maybe like defend some of their backline, do have a relatively vulnerable backline, or whether it's going to be diving with the, the water options and just kind of go into their backline, which I think would be great against the Chandelure. That Chandelure is going to be very, very scared of the dive capabilities of their team.
Yeah, dive capabilities, however, it does have that ability to turn off the lights with its Unite move. So if it's able to pop it, but definitely have to be wary considering it is such a squishy pick itself. As they call it, the Glass Cannon. High damage, however, just such a low HP pool.
Yes, the literal glass cannon. But one thing that's interesting, speaking of the, we'll talk about that in a second, but right now we're going to be getting into the first game here, our final game of the top 8 matches between CakeKalok and Fusion to see who's going to make it into top 4. CakeKalok on the left, Fusion on the right in the orange. This is going to be a good one.
It is. We're actually going to send both the Litwick and the Ralts down in that bottom path while those all-rounders go and take the central path. Ooh, we are going to have a little swin up here, going for a little invade. And if we know anything about Kubfu, it cannot really do much on its own at such an early level, which is why we actually have the Gossifleur to help it out.
#1 most bullied Pokemon maybe in the game. They do get the final hits on the side of CakeKalok, so they're not too worried about that. Small delay, but really not the worst delay in the world. Looks like they should be able to maybe get a pickup off of this. It's going to be a little bit slow, but they're running back the path anyway. Oh, that's
Oh
huge.
my god. Look at that bar. The effort point on that Magikarp is almost full. And that is just before that 9-minute mark. Oh my gosh, we have a Gyarados before 9 minutes. I think this is the quickest Gyarados we have had.
That is a great sign if you are CakeKalok. Honestly, that is exactly what you want to see. This top path was going to be quite difficult once the first power spikes went off, and it's still looking pretty difficult. We do see an Emo coming up. That's a lot of damage, especially for somebody who wants to be in close, but Gyarados very survivable, able to jump out of there, able to survive. We still don't see the Eldegoss. Some points will go in, but they're not getting KO'd quite yet.
Oh no, we do have that bounce just to give the Gyarados a little bit of shielding. However, Blissey and Cerealich have taken a trip into that Flux Zone to go and finish the job that the Scyther wasn't able to. Dunking in more points, leaving it on 11 out of 80. Just gotta get those stacks in.
That is a lot of stacks, a lot of points going in. They were able to get the return KO though, and that's going to be super important as far as kind of staying on pace, especially when you did evolve so early with Gyarados. You want to try and push that advantage, but right now, they're just getting chased down. Tempo going all the way, trying to catch Eldegoss. Not quite going to be able to. In fact, the return jump, as we're going to be seeing Gyarados get at least a lot of damage, getting 1 KO altogether. Looks like there's a chance to run away. Are they going to try to turn around? That's so risky.
Oh, they're going to slice them up to half HP. However, that Pollen Puff isn't going to take down that Scyther. Instead, they're just going to try farm on up a little bit more before we move on forward. But I mean, looking so far, it is quite even. We finally have the Swinub evolving into that Kylo Swine, reaching level 5, which I think is the one that was falling a little bit behind there.
And we got to be careful up there. Big bounce, yeah, into the tall grass. And Emo getting caught out. Scyther, very easy to kind of jump on and KO. It has a little bit of mobility, but it just is not survivable at all. It's a true speedster once you can actually catch it. A little bit more range than I think a lot of other speedsters, but it was able to get out of there. Luckily, not a huge follow-up. It did have to back up a little bit. Good healing, though, from the Bliss.
Yes, you've got to stick by your team. Make sure to replenish those HP pools with the eggs. But we do have both of those objectives spawning. And Nemo is on a different objective, being that of the Umbreon. However, they are able to make it out of the way.
I will say Nemo had to kind of spin around a lot and like chase a lot of people and didn't really get too much out of it. They should be able to get this Regieleki. Yep, they will. Perfect timing for that last hit. So finally they find something that they can KO. But they really want to try to break this before the Regieleki goes in. Unfortunately, the Regieleki will go down. Or sorry, not go down, but take the goal zone down. They should be able to get a lot of points into this tier 2. That's actually huge, 66 points.
Yeah, who needs a Regieleki to crash into tier 2? The fact that they were able to clear that space, empty out their pockets. All the meanwhile, we do have the other team going and securing themselves that basement Reggie. Another 40 points goes down into the bottom path. So CakeKalok are slowly climbing here as we do have Scyther just slicing on up. Gyarados is quick to shut it down, though.
That felt like a huge risk to go for that. I mean, you do have sustain, but you've got to assume that nobody else is going to jump in there and get the KO. And the KO on you as a carry, as Scyther, is so much bigger than getting the KO on just the support that you're chasing down like that Umbreon. So, interesting choice, but Anemo still leading the pack at level 10 by a good amount. Fusion, though, does have a point lead as well, so they can just continue to kind of hold tight. They got to be careful, though, not to trade too many KOs like that.
Yeah, exactly. You do not want to pass over the experience over to the opposite side, but I mean, you've got to look at these teams. There's hardly any yellow dots on the map, so they are just able to wipe out all the wild Pokemon as quickly as possible. However, Spoo is able to get themselves out of the way, a little bit of a heal, as we do have Fusion backing on up here.
Yeah, a lot more patience, I think, coming out once they started to realize, okay, the other team can actually fight back. But as I say that, immediately a member of CakeKalok going in, Umbreon, I'm sorry, not Umbreon, there's too many U names. Urshifu getting hit quite hard, big whiff. Not really see necessarily a whiff on the Unite from the Gardevoir, but there was just an immediate eject button out. It was only targeting one person to begin with, so it felt like a big whiff. And now you're not going to have that to defend this goal zone. They're just going to walk onto it. I like the spacing from Draken. They are going to at least be able to let them get in a few points. And now another KO as they're just going to churn and bully. Big Unite coming out from the Scyther. It's going to dive all the way into the back line, but Gardevoir and Eldegoss both extremely healthy. And right now, Battlegoss is chasing down Anemo.
Yeah, trying to get the KO. However, Anemo is just all too powerful at a level 12, being able to take down that Eldegoss. Top pad has been depleted. Cerealich has just secured themselves a Regieleki, which is actually heading towards home base. CakeKalok, it looks like they're going to try and take down this basement Reggie, as we do have members scattering around, seeing if they can try and defend.
That's tough. This is a really rough situation, especially because we did see that the time that CakeKalok won before was due to really smart kind of scoring play. And unfortunately, when you're this far behind, there's not really that much you can do that's smart as far as scoring. You just got to play tier out, so we're going to see a different style from CakeKalok for the rest of this game. Only a minute and, well, just under 2 minutes, I should say, to the 2-minute mark. Big break without getting very much of an overdunk, but they're already ahead by so much. Fusion's got to be happy with just getting the space.
Yeah, it just stops that healing for CakeKalok there and also gets rid of that additional flux zone. So Fusion taking more progression of that map, able to go into their central area a little bit more easily later on.
Look at this chase. I don't think you're going to chase Underbrown. Yeah. So literally jumped back. That was a little bit unnecessary, but I do like it. We are going to get a little bit of a convergence here. Eldegoss is going to unite to get out, I think that was. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to be able to catch anybody. Just a lot of like, hey, do you want to fight? Do you want to fight? Do you want to fight? I think Gyarados wants to fight. Once again, look at that. They're just kind of poking at each other to see if there's a moment of weakness. As we're a minute away, you really don't want to expend too many of your resources. There's going to be one very important Regieleki. I think, as CakeKalok, you cannot let Fusion take this Regieleki.
No, it's a bit of a staring competition, trying to see who blinks first. Gyarados did end up bouncing on in, but once again, they are not actually going to commit to the fight.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't at this point, I think. It would be a big mistake, especially when you're down just slightly. Well, no, actually, levels have started to even up, it looks like. This could be a very, very good final fight. I think it could even potentially happen around this Regieleki. It's so all-important for Fusion. That's one of the bingo cards from the Pokemon Unite Esports socials, is Regieleki going into a home goal zone. And the goal here for Fusion is for that to happen. Already starting to do some damage to it from Animo, just sitting up there, not really getting harassed. But the moment that I think it gets low, we might see a huge jump, and the jump's going to come already from Gyarados, trying to make them back up. And look at that. Fusion says, no, this is not worth our attempt. We're down to only a few seconds left anyway. Forget it. Great way to disengage.
Yeah, really interesting there to just let it on go, not wanting to commit to the fight once again. They just want to hold that advantage that they have. They are at 317 to 120 points. So CakeKalok have their backs against the wall. They're the ones that need to make a move. And speaking of moves, we have Gyarados looking for a back cap up in the top half, while we do have Umbreon and Eldegoss trying to see if they can keep eyes on the rest of Fusion.
And another big back cap from the other direction as Sarah is going to get an 84 into the bottom tier 2. But Rayquaza is actually starting to get burned down. There's a lot of strong secure. Big jump into the back line, and that's going to be immediately the Gardevoir going down, all important, and that Chandelure immediately gets that secure as almost all, actually all of CakeKalok, let me correct myself, go down in the blink of an eye.
Yes, they are the ones that just won that staring contest throughout this match, securing themselves that Rayquaza shield. Chandelure being able to just turn out the lights and burn and shred with the rest of the team. It's now 220 to 837 with less than 50 seconds on the clock.
I'd say this one may be in the books. I mean, with 40 seconds left, you need to score more than 100. Well, yeah, you need more than 100 burgers in every single person's pocket. So at this point, I think they're just fighting for fun. But Fusion going with that comp that they've been loving so much, and it's looking very strong. An interesting way to kind of engage in that last fight where they just burned down everything all at once. Final hit from a Chandelure, a little bit unexpected, I would say, especially considering who else they have, but still a very good option. They knew exactly what they were doing. They planned it out well. They timed it out well. And they have a huge lead, winning game number 1 of their top 8 set.
Well, they do have somebody on their name called Tempo, so they're able to keep that tempo in check. But, oh my gosh, I must say, is this why that Scyther has been banned previously by other teams that have gone against Fusion?
It, I mean, certainly is. Animo, known as, I would say, probably the best Scyther player that we know of, at least. There may be some other players that just kind of hide it, but as far as turning to steal either of those Pokemon away, you may have a Chandelure player, highly doubt you have a Scyther player. So, what will you do? Current first ban is going to go to Blaziken once again, not changing.
Yeah, and we do have that Dragonite ban once again as well for Fusion. So 2 all-rounders out of the picture, but we know there's so many all-rounders to select from. So not too bad. Otherwise, you're talking about lockdown. Onto the Scyther. Slowbro has been taken away from CakeKalok, so that could have been an answer, but I guess they just do not want to give it over to Fusion. Blastoise once again as well.
Yeah, the same ban from the side of Fusion. 2 strong Pokemon that, well, I would say 2 Pokemon that were not expected to be super strong in the meta, but have shown up this weekend very well. And they're not going to show up this match because they are not allowed to show up this match. So first pick, Urshifu. Very high priority on that when it's usually quite capable of being picked a little bit later on. But I suppose if you take the Blaziken ban the Blaziken and take the Urshifu, you've got a plan.
Yes, we'll have to see what the rest of the plan is to answer back to the Cerulege and this Mamoswine. Cerulege just being sneaky, being able to use that Phantom Force to a lot of the time to perfection to dodge a lot of the moves from CakeKalok. It was intense.
Tempo, we've been talking about this. Tempo is without a doubt one of the best players in the world. I think certainly in contention for that title, and especially with the results this season. But just as far as like visually looking at one player, incredible player. I think I said earlier they're worth 2 players themselves. But Umbreon and Crustle taken does seem to imply that we will be seeing a support Umbreon and defender Crustle. But actually, we could see some top path Crustle shenanigans. I'm not sure yet.
Look, maybe just try and build the walls, cut them on out, but we are going in for more brawlers here, locking down that Garchomp and Mimikyu pick. So there's actually no range on the side of CakeKalok here.
Yeah, not at all. Well, I mean, I guess you can kind of shadow sneak as range, kind of, but
I guess I have
realistically, not any, yes. But on the other side, I like that. We had the opportunity to go for the Scyther. Scyther doesn't have as many juicy targets this time around, but Animo, not only playing 1 bug, but playing 2 bugs very well over the course of this weekend and the rest of the season. This Buzz Wall is such a good answer when somebody's trying to brawl with you. You just completely stop them. You just pick them up, you dunk them, you plant them in the ground like a tree, and you say, you know what? You get a turn when you come back from your home goal zone after you respawn.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer considering we might end up seeing this Mimikyu head up into the top half. So they don't really want to select anything that needs an evolution, which could get shredded down by that Mimikyu. I'm interested to see where CakeKalok actually ends up going. We did see the Cubfu take the central area this time around, but are they going to prioritize giving it to the Garchomp instead?
Yeah, I mean, if you really look, if we look at which Pokemon we've seen, let's just say even in the top path. Urshifu could go top path, Umbreon could go top path, Crustle could go top path, Garchomp could go top path, Mimikyu could go top path. You can go say, what could go center? You can keep on that for a long time. That bit is far too long, but not likely for some of them, but we have seen them in tournament play in UCS. So their split is going to be really interesting, where they decide to send people. Specifically to me, I'm curious where the Garchomp's going to go. Obviously very, very EXP hungry, but where do you send them?
Yeah, that's the thing. It is experience hungry in comparison to that Cubfu and Mimikyu, but all of these answers will soon, all these questions will soon be answered as we are about to head on into round 2, CakeKalok versus Fusion. If Fusion ends up taking this match, they are going to join the other 3 in the top 4 finalists.
Well, we're going to have to see a big adaptation from CakeKalok if they want to stop it. Animo already moving forward, going for stacks, saying, oh, you're going for stacks, I'm going for stacks, let's just all go for stacks. And almost getting an immediate KO here on the Mimikyu. They are going to get those points in. They're going to back up. They might be KO'd for this. Mimikyu can do quite a bit of damage, but it's pretty scary. Trying to bait him out a little bit further, get the dunk, but oh, not going to be enough. Big first KO here for the side of CakeKalok.
Yeah, such an early KO as well, and I feel like that is the definition of in for stacks. They've got the one, they had the opportunity to back on up, but I guess they just couldn't get away from the Mimikyu claws that were slashing at them. Ooh, we almost had another KO there onto that Dweeble. However, it was able to get on out of the way, but with 3 members there, I don't know, it has a chance. It has both of those berries, so it was actually able to survive.
It still needs to a little bit more XP to evolve, which is unfortunate, but Draken is going to be chased down. I don't know if that check button was necessary. It does speed it up a little bit, I guess, but just making sure that there's no more shenanigans. Fusion is up by a few more points, which is just mostly important because of the top pass stacking, which we saw starting off very early. But an attempt to invade, and I really like this. This is something that we've seen from a few different teams now, from a lot of different regions, where you kind of invade a lot with an Umbreon. They're very hard to deal with. They can really delay your clear by a lot, and they always have EXP shares. So they just run around, be annoying, and that kind of lasts for the end of the game.
Yeah, they're able to heal and sustain themselves. Speaking of those defenders, though, we still have that Swin Up. Thankfully, does have those Bumblebees behind, so it should reach level 5 quite shortly. But we do have these mid-birds spawning, and it looks like CakeKalok are nowhere in sight for them.
They're not even going to attempt it. There's not even that much left for them to clear. We are going to see just some attempts to, I think, play a little bit safe. Fusion has a very aggressive attempt at the team, especially with those dunks, and yeah, they were very ready for that. Trying to move in with the Umbreon, but you're not really going to be able to get anything as far as damage. In fact, you might be the one KO'd. You're going to last a little bit longer. They don't even want that KO that much. They wanted the stacks. That's the most important thing for them. They want the points. That's how they won last game, and they got what they wanted.
Yeah, and Noddyza was actually aware of that because they ended up grabbing that stray Aeos energy on the floor. Wicked Blow ends up whiffing, and we have that Pylo Spine being able to pick up that 2 KO streak because it didn't hit him.
You just picking up everybody and dunk them. Pick them up and dunk them. He says, you know, Buzzwole, you can do that. I can do that too. And going to get a ton of points in. 30 to set up a huge overdunk on bottom. And this game is starting to look a lot like the last game. Almost a 100-point lead before the first big objective spawn. And now they're spawning. We really got to see some, well, I was going to say some wins for CakeKalok here, but already Basement Reggie taken from the side of Fusion. Big fight up top, but only Animo's going to be here, so they're not going to be able to get that really quick initial break on that top tier 1, at least with the first Reggie Lecky.
No, but that is going to bide some time for CakeKalok to try and get the levels evened out with the wild Pokemon over on their side. Buzzwole, Eldegoss able to deal with that, but I guess considering Fusion had that Registeel buff, they just did not want to push on forward.
Going to jump over into the center area. Well, there's already a little bit of a fight. A really good position, I think, for Channeler to be able to engage here. That Crustle, nice eject button over the wall, is going to be able to at least attempt to escape. Wow, that Shadow Sneak you can see going down through the wall vertically was able to, oh, he connected. I thought it whiffed, actually. I was certain that that whiffed, but maybe I'm just not able to see it. That's how fast you are. Not able to get a K off of it, though, as we've seen Fusion play very careful as far as the not giving up the single little picks to allow the comeback to happen.
No, when they're the ones that have the points lead, they have the level lead here. So it's just about keeping their distance, playing it safe, waiting for CakeKalok to potentially make a wrong move here. Getting burnt on down, sent back. Shifu isn't going to push on forward, considering there's 3 members of Fusion up here, and they're on the chase on the Mimikyu, but it's able to eject itself out of the way.
Yeah, this is a scary team to try and push. Like I said, I'm going to call it the double dunk, right? Mamoswine says, oh, Buzzwole, you want to dunk people, I can dunk people too, but what happens when you get dunked by both of them in a row, right? That's the scary thing. It's like nobody is going to live that long through that, so you've got to be super careful, especially if you're the Mimikyu or really, well, I was going to say any of the melee Pokemon on the side of CakeKalok, which is literally all of them, so that's why I love this draft for Fusion.
Yeah, but we can see 4 members of CakeKalok up here looking to take it, potentially this top Reggie Alecki, as we do have Noddyza using their Unite move, diving onto that Buzzwole, who ends up getting taken on down. The lights have been wiped out by that Chandelure, which means CakeKalok have no vision. The Midnight Knight wasn't able to actually land anything, as CakeKalok have decided to retreat on back, but not if Fusion have anything to say about it, as we have the Mamoswine stopping them in their tracks.
Oh, the big Revenant Rend is going to catch, I believe, 2. I think maybe there was an eject button out right before that. And so Crustle is getting very low, but Zinus has to get out of there. Chandelure getting KO'd, and a big Unite to try and turn things around, but Unite into Dunk, SGC versus Animo, and that bear is not going to be able to make it back safely to their goal zone. Big amount of KOs for Fusion and small amount of KOs for CakeKalok.
It is going to trade a bit of back and forth, but they're still quite behind here. Fusion able to lock down that Reggie Alecki, and this goal is left on 34, so if it does crash, has that potential for a big overcap. But, oh, it does! They decided to let it go on in.
Well, that is going to be, for sure, a big overdunk. They just got to decide how long they want to wait for it to actually happen. A lot of times you try to delay it as long as possible so that the EXP spawns as late as possible. There we go. We're going to see the Indeedee spawn over on the side as Tempo waited until the final just about 10 seconds of that debuff or buff. I don't know, whatever it is. I guess it's a debuff on the goal zone from the Reggie Alecki. But, this is not a raid boss here. You're farming an objective, and that objective is the guard chop. But wait a minute, 1 KO out of 3, gets dunked,
Oh my
and
gosh.
manages to survive.
No way. That Dragon Rush combo to just give the stun, get themselves out of the way, and let the team to come on in and finish the job. Insane plays from Sensage there.
I do have to say that Garchomp is scaling up really well. Every time that we've seen them within any sort of team fight, that's been when they've been getting the KOs on the side of CakeKalok. So if they can combine together eventually as we get closer to this final stretch, win one big team fight, the lead is not nearly as significant as the last game. They can absolutely make this happen. I mean, the levels in general are in the favor of CakeKalok. It's just the points lead only for Fusion. So I think they're doing pretty well. They've just got to make sure that they don't get all clubbed together as one big melee team. They don't get zoned out, and they've got strength in this comp.
Yeah. Stick together, stay together is what they must be chanting in their heads as they are about to head on into their final stretch, trying to look for that prime positioning in the tall grass, not wanting it to get caught on out. However, we did have that pollen puff exposing the Garchomp from there, along with the Crustle as well.
Oh, that was really scary. That Rock Tomb was so good, and the tough part here for CakeKalok is they've got to make the first move as a full melee comp. If they can land one big Rock Tomb, that is going to be almost nearly a guaranteed KO, but they've got to find it. They've got to find it on the right target. If they can catch out that Chandelure, that would be everything, but if they rush in blindly, then they will end up blind as that Chandelure is just going to unite. They're going to turn on them. It's going to be very difficult, and they've got to play patient. They've got to find their moment, but they've got to do it with not too much time left.
Yeah, but you do have Dragon diving on in. They are able to use their eject button away from that Rock Tomb, so not getting caught on out. They are just trying to play with their food here, seeing if they can also get a pick on there, as Buzzwole is looking to have a feast on that Ashiva. But here we go, we're going in and diving on in, using those Unite moves. Revenant Rain going to shred on down. 2 members of CakeKalok have been eliminated. Mimikyu has locked down that Chandelure. However, they didn't end up getting knocked on down, able to use that Imprison to shut it on down, and Fusion have the lead with 5 members still left standing. Only 2 on CakeKalok remain.
Umbreon is here. This is a chance to steal. It's the only chance, but they're not there in time. Rayquaza getting taken by Fusion. They are going to get that last KO as well. Every member up, every member with 50 points in their pocket. Hundo Burgers across the board, and only 1 member even up to try and defend on the side of CakeKalok. This lead is growing and growing and growing, and with 30 seconds left, I don't think there's any chance for CakeKalok to make it back into this game, especially not if they're getting KO'd like this.
I think it is safe to say that we have your top 4 here. Fusion will be joining the semi-finals.
Amazing. As their 4th region of the semifinals as well. That's a great thing to see. They're going to be taking down game number 2. Fusion moving into our top 4. Congratulations. Taking down CakeKalok, who, again, huge shout-outs to CakeKalok. Without a doubt, the underdogs, I would say, of this entire tournament. Making it to the top 8 is an amazing, crowning achievement, but they just weren't quite able to topple the undefeated champs of this entire season, who have literally not lost the tournament yet.
No, they have come first throughout, and they are looking to put another first on the board. But there are still some Titans here that they will have to get through. But that score must be something to be proud about, as we do have some sportsmanship going on through. Because you know what? 4th place